On the Independent News tonight, how the United Nations and United States plan to fight apartheid in South Africa. The Saturn sweepstakes is over. We'll tell you which state won the bidding for a new auto plant. And we'll take you along on 2 underwater searches. First for sunken treasure, and then some living treasures.
Good evening, I'm Morton Dean. The U.S. was bitterly denounced at the UN today. The barrage of criticism came during impassioned debate over South Africa's denial of equal rights to blacks. Alec Roberts reports on the Security Council's debate and on its decision to pressure South Africa to abandon its racist policies.
Responsibility for the tragic deaths of people lies not only on the terrorist regime of Pretoria, but also on those powers which continue to stand in the way of and savage effective international action.
Once again, the United States found itself under attack over South Africa, vetoing with Britain an amendment that threatened economic sanctions under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter allows for mandatory economic sanctions in cases of threats to international peace and security. The United States position has always been that as repugnant as apartheid is, it is an internal matter.
The United States wants an end to the state of emergency in South Africa. However, as we said in our statement before this council yesterday, we believe that actions to restrict new investment in South Africa both undermines the economy of that country and creates additional hardships for blacks.
But on the crucial resolution itself, condemning apartheid, the state of emergency, and urging voluntary economic sanctions, the U.S. and Britain abstained, allowing the French-sponsored resolution to pass 13-0.
We also express our regret that those countries who, in words, said that they condemned the racist regime, failed to support even this insufficiently strong draft.
Are you satisfied with what happened today?
I will not hide that we are extremely satisfied. It's a great, serious warning for the South African government.
For the Independent News, I'm Alec Roberts at the United Nations.
There was no warning to South Africa from Washington today and no change of U.S. policy, but John Aubuchon reports there was an appeal from Washington to South Africa.
We want the state of emergency removed. That statement from White House spokesman Larry Speakes was the first explicit call from the administration for an end to the government crackdown in South Africa. But Speakes said Washington will continue the policy it calls constructive engagement with the South African government and still opposes mandatory sanctions. President Reagan, before leaving for Camp David, met with the National Security Council for an hour to approve the call for an end to the state of emergency. But the president believes that if the U.S. were to break with South Africa altogether, the violence there could get much worse. In the words of the statement, if there is no voice of reason talking with South Africa, it could lead to a result that no one wants. The administration calls apartheid the basic cause of the violence and says real peace will come only when apartheid is dismantled. Both publicly and privately, administration officials leave no doubt that they are deeply troubled by what's going on in South Africa. But they're also firmly convinced that the U.S. must keep talking to Pretoria, that there has to be someone there to keep nudging them toward peaceful change once the current wave of violence ends. Likewise, this view goes, mandatory economic sanctions would cut off the clout Washington has with South Africa, as well as the millions of dollars in job training for blacks being done by U.S. firms there. But critics of constructive engagement say that's a good intention that has not worked. For months, anti-apartheid demonstrators have made their case in front of the South African embassy in Washington.
Freedom, yes! Freedom, yes! Apartheid, no!
In 1950, we had $100 million in investment in South Africa. Now, when you combine it with loans, we have $15 billion in a private stake. Through those years, repression has worsened because we have become the legs on which apartheid walks. Larry Speakes knows that, I know that, the president knows that.
The administration argues that the glass is half full, not half empty, that South Africa, under U.S. prodding, has made significant steps toward justice in the past 2 years, admitting not blacks but coloreds to its parliament and improving job rights for blacks. Officials here concede that that is not nearly enough, but they believe it's the only thing that works. For the Independent News, John Aubuchon at the White House.
The Independent News, brought to you by Oil of Olay, by the cereals of General Mills, and by the Remington Micro Screen Shaver.
She thought it was love, but she was just being used, and she's not alone, according to U.S. officials. Foreigners marrying Americans just to obtain citizenship, a growing problem. That story next on the Independent News.
Summer makes you feel younger, but it can make you look older. Sun, wind, water dry your skin, making tiny lines and wrinkles more noticeable. So the minute I go inside, I treat myself to some extra Oil of Olay. It isn't greasy, penetrates quickly, replenishing fluids lost to summer, easing dryness, leaving skin softer, younger looking. Don't let summer make you look older than you are.
Oil of Olay. It can help you look younger, even in summer.
Oh, what's that, Muriel? A new brand cereal?
It's new Fiber One. More fiber than any other cereal.
Not more than Kellogg's old brand.
Fiber One has more.
More than Nabisco 100% brand?
Fiber One has more.
How could you have more than 100%?
It has less sugar, so there's more room for fiber. Taste.
Good. More fiber, huh?
That's Fiber One. The one with more fiber.
That's one for you, Muriel.
It's one for you, too, Frank.
This stunning triple dresser with landscape mirror is free at Harlem Furniture.
When you buy the matching bedroom storage wall.
Furnish your entire bedroom for half what you'd expect to pay.
Save $700 at Harlem.
Pay only $7.99 for the storage wall.
And the massive dresser and mirror are free.
Layaway free?
Free for a year at Harlem.
Harlem has style. Furniture. Harlem has quality.
Discounts, too.
Nice price place since 1912. Harlem Furniture. You like our style.
Now open south at 79th and Cicero.
Come as you are to Schaumburg Toyota's spectacular truck sale. The Midwest's largest volume Toyota dealer is out to sell 100 trucks, no matter what. Four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, sporty stripes, aggressive styling. From just $49.95, you may never buy a new Toyota truck for less. From only $49.95. Immediate delivery for Chicagoland's largest selection of new Toyota trucks and spectacular savings. See Schaumburg Toyota, 875 Gulf Road in Schaumburg. Schaumburg Toyota.
What I'm about to suggest isn't for everyone. It's not easy, but the payoff is worth it all. Leadership, drive, and enough pride to last a lifetime as an officer in the United States Marine Corps. If you can make it as a Marine officer, nothing can stop you.
The few, the proud, the Marines.
General Motors said it wanted to start a revolution in small car production. Now comes word that revolution will start in Tennessee. Newspaper reports a Spring Hill, Tennessee, population 1,400, has beaten 29 other competitors to host the GM Saturn assembly plant. GM plans to build an entire production plant for its new Saturn cars, plants that will need 6,000 employees, 5 times Spring Hill's entire population.
I think it'll be good for us. We need it. We really do. But like I said, the growing pains, it's going to bring a lot of people in. It's going to be growing fast. People are not going to know how to adjust to it or how to cope with it. Will the roads handle it? Will our water system handle it? You know, we have a lot to think about.
Today, GM cleared another major hurdle in starting up Saturn. The Auto Workers Union signed a revolutionary agreement that gives it a voice in decision-making and pays Saturn employees on an annual rather than an hourly basis. There was no contract agreement between the Teamsters Union and companies that deliver cars to America's auto dealers. A strike could delay the debut of 1986 model cars and even cut U.S. auto production levels. At the least, it will mean delays for consumers who have 1985 cars on order now. 20,000 workers walked off their jobs. This dispute is over money. Love may know no boundaries, but the latest marriage scam is testing that theory. Some foreigners are using marriages to Americans as their ticket to the United States. But after a short while, the honeymoon and the marriages are over. Barry Cunningham reports.
Patricia Bishara was teaching English in Italy when she was courted by an Egyptian chef in a trattoria.
He was the perfect companion. Any suspicions that I might have had were alleviated, and even my friends in Italy said, Patricia, this man is so wonderful. I mean, really, you have just picked a winner.
Patricia got married, only to discover that the marriage was a fraud. She says her new husband married her to get a green card, which allows a foreigner to live here while applying for U.S. citizenship.
That the minute I got off the plane, almost, my life changed. I lived in what I can only describe as a nightmare. I couldn't understand. My husband had become another person. It was like Ingrid Bergman in Gaslight.
Patricia told an immigration hearing today that her husband, who is 15 years younger, exploited their age difference to try to get out of the marriage after 6 months, the green card requirement for legal residence in America. But she refused to grant him a divorce.
He called me up and said, "You're too old. I want someone younger." He had affairs with about, I discovered, at least 20 women in the first 3 years of our marriage. He broke my jaw in 3 places. I had to have my mouth wired together for 7 weeks. I had to call the police twice. He threatened me with a knife. And at the finish, after some months, he cleared out our joint bank account, left me with $64, the rent unpaid, and when I said to him, "What am I going to do?" he said, "Sleep in the street. I don't care."
Amita Narielwala said her husband told her point blank, "I married you for a green card," then left her and moved to Texas.
He said that I no longer required your support or your family support. I'm a doctor. I can earn my own way, and thanks for the ticket to America.
The Immigration Service does not give out addresses, so the husbands of the 2 women could not be reached for comment. Immigration officials said marriage fraud is a growing problem because it's the easiest way to qualify for U.S. citizenship. More than 100,000 immigrants acquired citizenship through marriage to an American last year, nearly double the number in the same period 10 years ago.
That could mount up to 45,000 individuals who could have received permanent status through a non-bona fide marital relationship. So the problem is clearly significant.
One recommendation to stop the practice is that foreigners would have to stay married for 2 years instead of just 6 months to qualify for a green card. Another suggestion is simply to deport any alien who uses a wedding ceremony to jump to the head of the immigration line. For the Independent News, Barry Cunningham, Washington.
In public, Nancy Reagan was a tower of strength during her husband's recent cancer surgery. She filled in for the president at some public events. Today, Mrs. Reagan shared some of her thoughts about his illness.
I was so determined that my husband not know how I really felt, and to try to wait till I got back here to let down, which was hard to do.
The First Lady had harsh words for doctors who had not worked on her husband's case, but who had talked about the surgery publicly. She said they were unethical and unprofessional.
Their wetsuits are on, tanks filled with oxygen, ready for an incredible underwater tour of one of the richest sunken treasure finds ever. That story next on the Independent News.
The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Look, no cord. It's rechargeable. It never needs a cord because this convenient charger stand keeps it continually charged. The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Here's why. The first screen shaves incredibly close, the second even closer. The Remington microscreen rechargeable shaver shaves as close as a blade or your money back. And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift, shaves without a cord.
Paladin presents Martha Ray, comedienne denture wearer.
You know, I love to laugh as much as my audience, so I want my dentures sparkling clean. That's why I use Super Strength Polident every day. Look at this stained denture. Now watch Super Strength Polident work. In minutes, the tough stain comes clean, even in between. So listen to the big mouth. Super Strength Polident Green gets tough stains super clean.
Now there's a fade cream that won't disappoint you. Fade Away Skin Lightener by Francis Denny. The only fade cream so effective, it comes with a guarantee. So if you're not satisfied with the way Fade Away lightens brown spots, just return it with proof of purchase for a full refund. Of course, Fade Away costs a little more than other fade creams, but then we guarantee a real disappearing act. Fade Away, available from trained Francis Denny cosmeticians at fine stores everywhere.
Look, Stanley, the superstore. Things certainly have changed.
Stanley, don't get lost.
Lost? But you can't lose at the superstore.
This week only, save on all GE appliances, including GE refrigerators.
During Townhouse's anniversary celebration.
Register to win a Chrysler convertible. Even Ollie shops at the superstore.
Townhouse TV and appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
The search for the killer bee goes on in central California. Scientists fear at least 2 swarms may have escaped from the first known killer beehive identified in the United States. Authorities found some dead killer bees in a colony yesterday and are now testing commercial hives for the insects, concentrating on a 400 square mile area of the San Joaquin Valley. The killer bee hails from Africa, prefers warm climates, and is more aggressive than the average bee. We've heard a lot and seen a lot about salvage hunters going after treasure under the seas around the United States, and Jan Fisher did that, and now he takes us along with him.
Here, 60 feet below the surface of the ocean, the water is murky. There's only about 2 feet of visibility, and finding the Atocha's treasure is mostly going by the way things feel. Treasure divers took us below for a chance to see up close what they have been finding for a week. As we skimmed the ocean floor, it became apparent knowing what to look for is all important. 80-pound chunks of silver don't shine after nearly 4 centuries in the ocean. They are black encrusted with coral. Even with the buoyancy of saltwater, the bars are incredibly heavy. It's a struggle to heave them into an ordinary grocery cart for their trip to the surface. There is something reassuring about the clunk of all that silver. Divers say it reminds them they are handling a lot of money. For K.T. Jones, the real haul of the day was in finding an authentic treasure chest.
Well, chest is about like this, probably 100 pounds, probably about 2,000 coins in there. I would assume all of them are in mint condition.
It is one of 7 chests that have been found on the Atocha. The ship's bounty is estimated at $400 million. For Mel Fisher, it is the end of the rainbow. A 16-year search is at an end.
Yeah, today was the day. It's extremely exciting, just fantabulous.
Since he found the Atocha, people wanting a piece of his action have swamped Fisher's Key West headquarters.
Yeah, we take Visa, MasterCharge, American Express, cash, checks, whatever you got.
If you believe the sales pitch, just in 1 week, investors have pumped nearly $500,000 of modern-day cash into a chance at getting a part of old Spanish treasure. So much silver has been brought ashore that old-timers in the business say it's lost its mystique. It's hard to describe the feeling of finding a piece of history. As we passed over it, just the top of this clay pot was sticking out of the ocean bottom. After careful digging, we found it was an olive jar, 363 years old and still fully intact. For some, the sparkle and luster of lost treasure has begun to fade. For many others, it has been replaced by the excitement and the thrill of sifting through the rubble, looking for clues of a lifestyle gone now for nearly 4 centuries. Surprisingly, that process will take a relatively short amount of time, only about 2.5 years. For the Independent News, Jan Fisher in Key West, Florida.
This portion of the news is brought to you by MasterCard International.
Another mixed day on Wall Street. The Dow gained more than 3 points in active trading, but decliners had a slight lead over gainers.
MasterCard, fill my flat. Your taste is impeccable. Home is where the card is.
Morning is your time. The earth wakes up with you. Always feel that spark of life in everything that you do.
Grape nuts. For you, it's as natural as the morning. No sugar added, no preservatives. Just an honest, nutty crunch. Post Grape Nut cereal. You know when you have it good.
Yes, you know when you have it good.
Smokeless tobacco, snuff. It's the latest fad among young people across America. Some people say it's a dangerous fad, possibly even deadly, and that fear has prompted Congress to consider regulating the product. Ron Leverton reports from Washington.
isn't just my job, it's my life. For me, nothing comes close. Nothing comes close to my skull either. I just take a little pinch and put it between my cheek and gums. Sure feels good.
Advertising of smokeless tobacco products has increased in recent years. Accordingly, more people are dipping and chewing. Medical experts say that may be dangerous. Betty Ann Marcy is convinced her son died as a result of using snuff, a practice he began at age 12.
My son was a handsome boy, but after 3 major operations, he was so disfigured that people found it hard to look directly at him. Sean realized the shock that his looks caused, and yet it was his wish to go with Dr. Hook from school to school to show other kids what could happen to them and to warn them of the dangers.
Studies around the country conclude young people are trying smokeless tobacco in lieu of cigarettes. In doing so, most believe the practice is risk-free.
In Muskogee, Oklahoma, I can walk through the grade schools and see youngsters with skull cans in their hip pockets that are 6, 7, 10 years old. And I think these youngsters are not capable of making important decisions that may threaten their life.
While there's no direct link between smokeless tobacco and cancer, medical experts say all the evidence points to a connection, and they urge lawmakers to warn the public. The tobacco industry opposes the legislation.
It's a product in controversy, just like caffeine is in controversy, just like alcohol is in controversy. There are a number of commonly used products today that are in controversy, including smokeless tobacco.
There is a report of association between the two, but there is no proof been shown that snuff and tobacco or any unburned tobacco product causes cancer in the oral cavity.
The tobacco industry concedes warning labels may be something it will have to live with. But a ban on TV and radio advertising is another matter, and one the industry plans to fight. For the Independent News, Ron Leverton on Capitol Hill.
There are reports tonight that ousted dictator Idi Amin is leading a coup attempt in Uganda. The president there is charging that rebelling soldiers have joined forces with Amin and the country's top guerrilla leader. The government claims the mutineers are retreating, but there are some other unconfirmed reports that they are advancing toward a strategic town.
Here at Precision Lens Crafters, people ask how we make even bifocals in about an hour. Simple. Instead of sending to a faraway lab, we custom grind lenses right in the store. Listen.
We went for a walk, came back in an hour. My 2 pair of frames with bifocals were ready.
Even though I got a no-line bifocal, they were able to make it for me in an hour's time.
I even got bifocals within an hour.
Eyeglasses in about an hour. Precision Lens Crafters, 6 locations. Call 691-2100 for the location near you.
On the 7 o'clock movie Saturday, enter the 23rd century where man is divided by 2 worlds.
When we look at him, we look into our own hidden faces. Meditate on this.
One world dedicated to intelligence and harmony. Another dedicated to brutality and extermination. Sean Connery, Charlotte Rampling, Zardoz, Saturday night at 7 on Channel 9.
The Independent News, brought to you by Polident and by Grape Nuts Cereal.
It is safe to drink the water in New York City. That was the emphatic message at an unusual news conference called by the mayor of New York.
There is no health hazard. You can drink this water with security in your mind and in your body that you're not endangering yourself.
The mayor was acting in advance of a story that a newspaper in Pennsylvania planned to publish this weekend. The story is based on an anonymous letter written to Mayor Koch in April. The letter warned that the city's water supply would be polluted with cancer-causing plutonium. The city took the threat seriously and claims to have been testing the water supply daily. Low levels of plutonium were found, but the mayor and health officials said the levels were much too low to cause any harm. The investigation continues in an effort to determine just how those low levels of plutonium found their way into the water. Some experts say it may have been from nuclear tests, but the mayor seemed to rule that out. Herman Melville and Jonah, too, would be amazed at what has become a major tourist attraction off both American coasts. Whale watching, people going out to sea to cozy up to a whale. It's a major daily event from several ports of call in Massachusetts. And that's where Paula Childs went for this close-up look at people enjoying a close-up look at whales.
They come from all over the country and even other parts of the world. But the 120 people who board the passenger vessel Voyager on this hot summer day are all here for one reason. This is the New England Aquarium's Whale Watch, a 27-mile trip out of Boston Harbor into the Atlantic to see the largest mammals on Earth. With naturalist Frederica Deerchild on board and skipper Doug Hall at the wheel, the boat heads